Hey everyone. So last video I asked you to figure out how to play three-chord blues with a combination of open and closed shell voicing so that there was voice leading. If you want to check that out on the accompanying PDF, you can see if you got that right. And now we're going to move on to the world of tensions. So let's talk about what a tension is. First of all, the word tension is often a lot of people think it's because it adds tension to the sound, and it sort of does do that. But these are notes that are actually extensions of the chord, so it's really an abbreviation of the word extension. And now I'm not going to try to deal with the entire topic here, so if you have no idea what a tension is, you might want to check out a previous video or another video on that theory topic. But I will tell you that essentially what happens is most chords are built in thirds, intervals of a third. And on guitar, if I do a close voicing, you can see it's kind of hard to play, but these are all thirds, creating a major 7 sound. If you looked at this on a staff, you would see all the notes stacked up together, and the next note that would be in the pattern of thirds would be this note. Now that's kind of impossible for me to play with a close position voicing on guitar, but I'm going to add it on top of one of our shell voicings. And you can hear that sound. It's a beautiful sound. And because it's a ninth above the root, it's called a ninth. It's a major ninth interval. That's an example of an extension of the chord. It's called a tension. Here's another one. Sharp 11, an augmented 11th. Okay, these are beautiful sounds. Here's a 13. So these are ways to add beautiful color to our chordal sounds. So we're going to learn how to add them to our shell voicings and thereby create a lot more interesting sounding chords. Okay, so there's kind of a pattern to this, which is really helpful to know. Let's start with root 6, open shell. Okay, and by the way, we usually use open shells on the root, on the 6th string because the pitches are lower, and we want to have that more open sound so it doesn't sound muddy. So we're going to do open shell here, root 6. Here's our G7 chord. Now, when we add a tension on these voicings, we're dealing basically mostly with the 2nd string. And on the 2nd string, it turns out that we have, you can associate it with, first of all, this note. And you'll notice that I'm playing an additional note right here on the same fret as most of the other fingers there. In this case, the 3rd fret. And that gives us the 5th of the chord, which doesn't add a lot of color, but it just fills it out a little bit. But what's useful in terms of tensions is that we can add the notes that are close to the 5th on this string. Now you may know from studying previously about theory that we refer to tensions by their expanded name. And when we play our major scale, we have these notes. This is our 4th scale degree and our 6th scale degree and our 2nd scale degree. But when we're talking about tensions, we refer to them not as 2, 4, and 13, as 6. We refer them as expanded by an octave, 9, 11, and 13. Okay? So it turns out that on this added string for our open shells, we get all the notes that are around and about the 5th. So above the 5th we get the sharp 5, or it could also be called the flat 13. And just above that we get the 13, the major 13th. And that's the one I want you to pay particular attention to because we're going to use that in a blues in a minute. Sorry, 13. But down below the 5th, and we have to refinger the chord to get this, but we get this note, which is a very interesting sound, and that would be called either a flat 5 or a sharp 11, depending on the situation in music that you're in. And that gives you your sharp 11, and then one more gives you an 11 right here, which you would play when there is no 3rd in the chord. You would put in your 11. So all these notes here are available to be added to a typical open shell voicing. Look in the accompanying chart to check them out, and then practice them and just get used to what they are. Sing them. You can sing a 5th, sharp 5, 13, flat 13, 5, sharp 11, 11. It's very good to do that, to connect the sound with the name in your ear. So between now and the next video, practice your additional notes that you can add to an open shell voicing, and we'll take it from there in the next video. See you then.